everyone, it's the morning after the night before, the day where Microsoft revealed its latest Xbox showcase titles. Huge amount of games on display, perhaps not so much of the new Series X console, which is a bit of a surprise. But anyway, to join me to talk through the entire conference, I'm joined, first of all, by my hashtag friend and colleague, John Linneman.
Hey Rich, we're back. We're doing the same thing we did for the PS5 reveal, and there's a lot to talk about.
There is indeed, and we had to bring in the man with the Crisis Shrine, fully renewed after its recent Switch reveal. It's Alex Battaglia.
Hey there, Rich, John. Also here to talk about some of the bits of ray tracing we saw in this demo, which I'm pretty excited to talk about. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Hashtag ray tracing.
Of course, you are a hashtag friend and colleague as well, Alex, before we go on. Anyway, well, let's get on with it. Let's take a look at the Xbox July 2020 showcase. Okay, so we're kicking off with a warning that the content may be inappropriate for children.
Yeah, they did drop one F-bomb in this conference. I remember that distinctively.
Oh, geez. Well, here's the countdown.
Right.
Set place somewhere.
I guess they're showing off some of the games technically here too as well. You know, Psychonauts 2 was Psychonauts 2.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Behind there. Yeah.
So it's an Xbox conference. We're seeing the console there in the initial sort of intro thing, but you know, it's difficult to ascertain how much of the actual console we're going to be seeing in this conference, because it's not clear on any of the content what the content is actually running on. Is it Series X? Is it PC? What is it? We just don't know.
In this case, they've confirmed that this upcoming Halo showing here was actually the PC version.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. I mean, I kind of get it. Like with, you know, games are developed on PCs primarily, but still, you know, when you're showing off your new console, people want to really see what they're gonna get. Mm-hmm. But again, we should keep in mind that this is nothing new. I mean, this goes back. I think Rich, you were talking about seeing 360 games in 2005. They were showing them on like Power PCs or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
on Macs.
Mm-hmm. They did have some content running on the actual consoles, but you know, I think Need for Speed at the time, they actually, you know, it was right there out in the open, a huge Mac, and you played the game on that. But at the same time, this is coming off the back of the Sony event, where they basically said right at the beginning, okay, so we're showing GTA 5 on the PlayStation 4, but everything you're going to be seeing from now on is on PlayStation 5. And I consider that to be a powerful statement of authenticity.
Yeah.
Where, you know, this is what you're going to be getting on the console that we want you to spend a lot of money on come the end of the year. So I don't really appreciate ambiguity in what we're going to be seeing here. And to clarify, there is one report of this Halo gameplay, which we're about to see, running on PC from a French outlet. But I've only seen the story there. But I did ask in the Behind Closed Doors event last night what it was running on. They didn't pick up the question. So, you know, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
Now here's something that's interesting. You know, we have that title screen, and then we have the obviously they kick into the gameplay here, and it's instant.
Yep, right away.
Is it? You know, now obviously it's not the Xbox Series X if it's running on a PC, but is that an indication of the loading speed that we're going to be seeing, or is it just a cut? This is the other thing which is kind of frustrating for me, is that the big deal about these new machines is this truly generational leap in storage, but you know, we don't really see any kind of example of how powerful the SSD is.
That's true. Now, this starting here though, his character model somehow it rubs me the wrong way. There's something about the beard and the way the shadows fall on him and the skin shading that immediately I was like, because you know, you look at Halo 5, its character models are already of at least that quality on Xbox One, if not more so. So
30 FPS cutscenes though, right, on Halo 5?
Ah, that's true. Yes,
Yeah.
that is accurate.
one thing that I thought that really it didn't look too great here is the resolution of the shadows. That was something I did not see, for example, in the initial trailer I looked at last year, where the shadows, indoors from these indoor casting lights were pretty high resolution. So they're like flickering all over the Master Chief and his face right now. So that's why it looks really awkward usually.
They could really stand to use some near field shadows just on models.
Yeah, they really should.
During cutscenes maybe, or even during the gameplay, since like you said, the weapon model doesn't seem to have nice shadows on it.
Yeah,
self shadows.
I do like the how do you say it? The material on the Master Chief's armor though. I think that looks pretty.
Yes.
So
so here we go.
Gameplay.
So they show the sun through the tree, and it's instantly not. It's not like the effect we remember from Halo 1.
No.
Which that's a simple trick, but it was effective at the time.
There's a couple of things to really talk about here. We're getting right into what is an open world kind of take on Halo. This is a very large level. It's larger from the when he looks at his map in a second here. Looks larger than most of the Halo 4 and Halo 5 gameplay arenas that we've seen. Still has yet to be completely clarified how exactly open world this game is. Whether it opens up into a more open world scenario, or whether these are kind of more like hub-like larger missions.
I really hope it's not just an open world game.
Yeah.
I really hope it's not. Like, if it's more like Crisis style design where you have large maps you can explore on the way to your objectives. But if it's just like go to waypoints, we'll have to wait and see.
But as he moves forward here in the Jeep, as we saw a second ago, there was quite a bit of pop in. So there's one thing I need to talk about here is that there's everyone with these next-gen SSDs has been thinking that means the end of LODs and the end of pop-in. It really doesn't at all, because the reason why you have pop-in for certain elements is because the GPU or the CPU could be the limiting factor as well.
Yep, precisely.
Especially for things like vegetation, which is very expensive.
Just a general note here, guys. This is I'm reviewing the 4K 60 asset that was released after the live stream. It looks 10 times better than the live stream, which looked horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the live stream was pretty bad too.
Yeah, that's true. It is improved because you do get more fine-grained detail in it.
Yeah, we are watching the 4K 60 stream here. I'm going to be making a video specifically about Halo Infinite and why it looks the way it does according to what my eye can see here. And I do think what we're seeing is some last-gen legacy here for certain aspects, specifically the lighting.
Just as like a guess, we were talking about this, but I mean, this game's been in development for a while, right? It was clearly a game being created for Xbox One, and based on their legacy with Halo 5 and the initial trailers for this, I'm also sure that they were going for a 60 frames per second large-scale Halo game on Xbox One.
Which is ambitious.
That's very ambitious. And then now it's like, oh, we have to get this out on Series X as well. Like, they can't just rebuild everything, and there's no like next gen button for a game that's this far in development. So I suspect this is just an enhanced, it really is a cross-gen game.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here. I mean, I think if we saw this running at 60 FPS on a base Xbox One, obviously at a much lower resolution than this, it'd be impressive. But I think there's some legacy there that I'll be talking very specifically about in the video that I make on this, that they'll make it very clear about when everyone says the word, this looks flat, I can put that into very concrete terms as to why that is the case.
Yes, that's right.
Hopefully that makes people happy. Bit of an explanation. There's some gameplay stuff here that I think is really great, though. I do think that, they're focusing on the fact that they're showing off gameplay. And for a good amount of time, it's like almost 8 minutes long.
Yep.
Right, in total. That's a lot more total gameplay than we technically saw for most games at like the Sony conference. But this is only Halo. It's one of the games, the premier game that shows off.
Well, and this conference. That's
right.
So
God.
We should say that them actually showing a real demo, like, I greatly appreciate that. And people with commenting on the way it looks, it's not because of the format, it's just the state of the game. It's unrelated to that, but them actually showing a demo is very, very good. This was a good move on that sense, but
I don't know, the live stream just massacred the quality for me. Reviewing it now, looking how it is based on on this higher quality asset, it looks a ton better.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the fine-grained detail on the ground was just completely absent in that live stream. All you got was a flat presentation.
You're completely right. It's not a bad looking game. I like where they're going with it. It's just that, you know, the stigma, they're trying to compete with the Sony first party studios, right? That's a tall order. And those games are known for pushing visual boundaries.
At 30 FPS though, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Really?
No, the reason it doesn't matter is because it's...
Really? I think it does.
This is selling to that audience that's looking for the glamour, right? Like, it's about the message, and that's why developers often go for 30 FPS. But, again, this is a different game, but I will say, you look at Doom Eternal, I think Doom Eternal looks a lot more impressive than this. But it's a very different scale. But...
Yeah, I think the sort of cross-gen legacy, that the issue is that third parties, you know, have got their transitional engines in place already. They're architecting for the next generation. So id Tech 7, it runs on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and it looks great, but it's built to scale to the new hardware. Similarly with IW8, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, that is doing amazing things on the last-gen systems. It's built to scale onto next-gen. And yeah, I'm not quite seeing the same level of scalability here with the engine here, and it is a bit of a concern. I mean, what I will say is it does look a lot better than when I first saw it yesterday.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the kind of the reaction to it has not been positive, and the assets that were released alongside the game reveal are really bad, and I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of left wanting to see a lot more now, and I think they've got more to prove on this one.
Yeah, and you know, Alex, I think the issue that it's like there are open world games this gen that look more impressive than this, that run at 30 frames per second, but they run at 30 frames per second on a sub 2 teraflop machine, right? 2013 hardware. You would expect to see that fidelity and more at 60 FPS on a next-gen machine.
At least that, yeah.
And I think that's why people are confused and disappointed here.
Yeah, you were talking about Rich. I agree, John. You were talking about Rich, how seeing that engines that are built for the next gen, as in they scale higher. One of the things that makes engine scale higher is supporting next generation features that are obvious. Ray tracing is, to me, pretty obvious. And in that entire thing that we saw of Halo Infinite just now, whatever platform it was running on, may it be PC or Xbox Series X, it did not show off any bit of ray tracing. And then they announced after the fact that it is going to have a ray tracing patch. I don't know if the great way to show off your next-gen game is without one of the next-gen features.
That's a big mistake right there.
Yeah,
and I understand it's clear that it's not ready, but, oh boy.
I guess, why is it not ready then, too? Like, I guess there's some questions of development, pace, and...
I hate to say it, I think you said this as well, but...
Yeah.
They almost need... I don't even know what it feels like it needs to be delayed somehow.
Yeah, that's the way I felt this morning when I was thinking about it all again last night. Just
because there's potential here. Like, I'm excited by the visual design. There's some cool stuff. The combat looks great. Like, I think it could be a very good game, but it needs to blow people away.
Yeah, Halo is a system seller, you know.
All right, now this though.
This is my huge pet peeve is pre-rendered graphics at a video game conference. I just don't care, and this is not what the game even looks like. It's not going to look anything like this.
No, it's State of Decay.
State of Decay. Their games look whatever.
Not good.
You know.
You think this might be a Blur Studios production?
It's really high quality.
They do really good work. Like, this is a really nice CG asset, I would say. And you know, when we don't like CG assets for game reveals because it doesn't show the game, but that's no disrespect to the talented VFX people doing these actual pre-rendered scenes, because, you know, this is its own work of art. It looks really good. So, but
it's really good looking.
obviously, it doesn't really say anything about the game.
Absolutely nothing.
We know what State of Decay is.
You know,
I just don't see the point. And, you know, all too often the games industry loves to compare itself to the movie industry. Now, let's say the next Spider-Man movie is coming out. Nothing it can be shown of the new Spider-Man movie. So we're just going to get a video effects house to make up something. This would never fly. And you can't do it with games either. This, apart from saying that, there's a new State of Decay coming out, which is great.
That's maybe the point, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, there are other ways to do that. And, putting it in as a video presentation, it just drives me mad.
On the other hand, though, that little CGI transition was pretty cool with all the little X's.
60 FPS? Yeah. See, they've upgraded Phil Spencer's microphone and camera for this. Better than the last time.
Oh yeah, the film interstitial sequences here. I assume that's a green screen that he's using because
it's excellent. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, like the background, and that's something I look a lot at as camera placement. And like, now that I've gotten more into filming things, it's like So I'm always eager to see what they're doing to film this stuff, but it's very sharp, very clear.
Yeah.
If it is green screen, I just did my first green screen stuff recently, and I was like, oh, okay, it's quite fun.
It's not easy,
but it takes a little bit of work to get it looking just right.
Yeah, so this is our only look really at the Xbox for the entire conference, more or less. It is a game showcase.
Well, I think the fact that we had a huge Game Pass logo coming up is kind of more indicative of where we were heading there, because if the key message I took away from this entire showcase was all of these games are going to be on Game Pass, which, overcoming my sort of disappointment that we're not really seeing much on Series X, if anything, the fact that these games are going to be available, for however much Game Pass costs every month, astonishing.
And Xbox Series X is bringing them closer to their dream of unprecedented realism.
Here we go. This is excellent. Forza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're saying, this is all in engine. This Forza stuff, and that is probably one of the most impressive things shown. It's very nice looking.
Yeah, I think they go through it here.
So I mean, again, presuming this is accurate to what they're going to be doing, these shots here, it looks like plenty of like really nice ray trace reflections,
and I was
with a better roughness cutoff actually than GT whatever.
Like I was in the GT video, I talked about how they were foregoing them being physically based reflections by not having them actually stretch, elongate, and get darker and things like that usually see contact hardening for reflections.
Yeah, exactly.
And here it's all over the place here. So these are actually better looking than the ones in GT. But at the same time, this is captured in engine. Who knows what the system is? And
it's also a 30 FPS trailer,
right?
But then again, Forza's like replays and like in between scenes where they show inside the garage have always been 30.
Yeah.
So
that lets you and I were wondering earlier if maybe the replay version of the games, like these really great looking Forzas and GTs, will have ray tracing in the replays, but maybe not in gameplay. Was something I was.
By the way,
about.
Did you notice it was Series X and Windows only?
Yeah.
No Xbox One mentioned, which is good.
That's great. I guess that also means that's going to come out past their transitional time, so maybe in almost 2 years.
Maybe not.
Yeah?
I mean, you say that, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. They're not gonna. It's not going to be 2 more years before we see that game. There's no way.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I reckon it could be 2 more years. They said it's early in development. That doesn't suggest it's coming out next year.
Oh, okay, maybe so then.
Yeah. I mean, I would guess if I was sort of Mr. Microsoft strategizing for the upcoming release slate, I would maybe have Playground doing Forza Horizon 5 in the meantime. It's a series that's got a lot more, that can evolve a lot more onto the new platform, and Playground have just got this release cadence development cycle licked. They're just awesome with it.
That's right. Now, so actually this trailer from Rare, I don't know what this game is going to be, but I actually like the visual style a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
It looks great.
I'm assuming if this is Rare, it's using Unreal Engine 4. Considering they've been using it for a while now. They've ditched their internal efforts.
Yep.
And 30 FPS, I think really cool art style. The water's excellent there. Like really, really good water effects and hair and cloth.
Dark places.
Things that would not at all really work in many ways on a current gen console at the fidelity we're seeing here.
Nice shadows there on the foliage as that light source flew by. I mean, this all looks really good. I mean,
this all looks excellent.
This is attractive. Look at those shadows from the leaves.
Yeah, right. Really tiny, small little shadows.
And it could be screen space shadows, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, obviously. One thing I did notice is those little smoke plumes that they were moving around, like swinging the what do you call those things? They use them in like masks.
Yeah.
Those were casting shadows too. The smoke was casting shadows, which is really rare to see in games. Particles casting shadows.
Rare.
Yeah. Bit of a Princess Mononoke vibe there at the end. I don't know what the gameplay is. I'm interested.
So Tom Morgan suggested this is kind of like what he would consider a next-gen Breath of the Wild to look like, and I think that's a pretty good observation.
Visually, yeah, I could see that.
Hopefully not.
Gameplay-wise, we don't, know. We don't know anything.
Again, we're in trailer central here, so we don't know anything about what's going on, but it sure looks awesome.
I think they mentioned after the fact that they haven't shown much of the gameplay for this because they're still experimenting with gameplay. It's still refining what the gameplay structure of the game is. So it's a bit early still.
Yeah, interesting that, there's no mention of Xbox One as a target for it, which would suggest it's quite a way out.
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of mixed messaging, because Microsoft have been making a big deal about the fact that they've got a different perspective on the generational shift, and to then immediately afterwards come out with assets that are saying, hey, maybe this isn't going to appear on Xbox One. It's a bit jarring. I think they just need to be a lot clearer in their communication. I mean, there's people that are putting off based on what Microsoft are saying. They're saying, well, maybe I don't need to upgrade my Xbox quite yet. I mean, if you're not going to be saying when games are coming out, but you are saying, hey, maybe it's not going to be coming on Xbox One, just generates confusion here. I don't think it was a very good idea.
No. I mean, so far we can say the hardware they seem to have, it looks like it's going to be fantastic. Very, very capable piece of hardware. Very nicely made.
Hardware's great.
They just need to show more reasons why people would want to own it. And it's, it's more about they need at least just a small number of very visually striking games that make you just sit back and go, whoa. They need that. Sony has that.
Yeah, they kind of easily have it though with the studios they have are great.
I know. It's a shame it's too early for it, but like they needed a coalition game.
Yeah.
Like at this point, like because Gears 5 looks insane given the hardware, and like that they would have been able to deliver something that just absolutely puts it to the new system to full use.
Yeah.
But obviously, Gears 5 is too new. They couldn't possibly have a new game ready to show.
One thing I'm also curious about when we talk about Halo Infinite earlier, or even this right now, what we're looking at here, this is the new Dawn game, so kind of Life is Strange style game.
Yeah, which I love.
Those are cool games, but this is like 4K 60 trailer, which is using assets and techniques which we've seen all across the last generation of games and across pre-ray tracing GPUs on the PC side. They just kind of need next game showing off next gen features almost, not just high res.
I agree, but I mean that's don't nod stuff. That's just
I can't expect
that's in
that.
line. That looks better than Life is Strange and the second Life. That's an improvement. Sony had plenty of games like that at the PS5 showcase where it's more like the stylized visuals, nothing technically impressive. There's still value in showing it, but you're right, it doesn't showcase anything. Now this here,
technically,
that's cool.
120 FPS, something, I've had a 120 FPS monitor on PC since 3D Vision came out, almost like 2010.
Yeah.
And I've loved it. I do prefer it to 60 hertz when I can run a game at that.
Sure.
And having more choice as a game, someone to play games on your console to run games at 120 FPS.
I mean, it doesn't solve motion resolution issues of LCDs. Unfortunately, you still get blur, but it's
better.
It does make a big difference. And I actually think side-scrolling games are a great showcase for 120 hertz because you have so much lateral motion with the camera moving rapidly, especially in Ori, which is a pretty fast-paced game.
Yeah, right.
I think 120 hertz could really help. And also, since the game launched in a bad state on Xbox One this year, but it has since been improved dramatically. They overhauled the HDR, fixed most of the performance problems. So I have hope that it'll be awesome on Series X. And it's a great game, by the way, like really good.
So Private Division, this is the one thing that confused me. Is this made by a different developer than Obsidian? This
I mean, this is just an add-on, right?
yeah, okay.
From the furthest reaches of the universe.
This is just an add-on for Outer Worlds, which is actually a really nice-looking game.
Yeah,
Unless you're playing on Switch.
Unless you
And
play
then
on
it's not
Switch,
nice. That is not nice looking at all.
console versions are pretty good. You know, they also repatched the Xbox One X version to have much better grass distance not too long ago.
Yeah,
So it looks much
that's the
better.
version I tested when I covered the Switch version. I thought it looked really, really good on Xbox One X.
I'm curious if the Xbox Series X version of this game will not just up the res, but also turn on some of the PC features.
That'd be nice.
Like, I'd hope so, because it looks pretty great.
I'd also like to see an improved frame rate, which they're gonna show Destiny 2 later, and that gets a 60 FPS patch, and just
Yeah.
Destiny 2 looks really good visually. Like, I kind of
Yeah.
think it looks better than Halo Infinite at this point. And I mean, Bungie's art direction is top tier, but that that's a really good looking game still. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's beautiful.
You see, John, you're asking questions there like, hey, I hope this is going to run better on Xbox Series X. I hope we're going to see some of the features from PC. This is the venue where we should have had answers to those questions.
You're right, actually.
But we've got nothing.
Yeah, not just trailers.
Yeah. Now, this is bizarre, but also like kind of awesome. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but like
Yeah,
a co-op
I agree.
game, I guess. And dropping Cyberpunk in there, that's they had some fun with the humor, I will admit. This looks visually pretty nice, actually.
If you're ready for the smallest, we've got you covered.
Looks like Unreal Engine 4 to me. My eyes
Yep.
say that. SSR looked like actually parallax occlusion maps on the ground there.
I love how they go heavy on the depth of field to help with the give it that tilt shift look.
Macro
To it,
photography.
well, not exactly, but
Yeah.
it makes everything seem smaller scale with the really shallow depth of field they've shown a few times. Very curious about this.
Yeah.
Okay, the Battletoad. You notice how that Battletoads game kind of disappeared?
Yeah.
I hope they're retooling it into something else.
Yeah, we played it last year at Gamescom really quickly, or you did, and I watched you play it, and it was just like, the racing segments of Battletoads, and I saw.
By the way, that said Xbox One as well.
I did.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
confused messaging,
At Obsidian, we're dedicated to pushing narrative and role-playing games. It's something we do every day when we come to the office, and we can't wait for you to play our...
But we're about to see something really good after this in terms of what it means. I mean, we'll talk about what the trailer is, but it technically means Obsidian has done like Fallout, New Vegas, a first-person, really large role-playing game, very much so like the Outer World, or Outer Worlds. But they're going to be kind of going back to, I would say, what some of the original designers worked on in a very much, how would you call it?
So it's based in the Pillars of Eternity universe, and it looks like it's good. It basically looks like it's going to be like Obsidian Skyrim,
Yeah,
which is actually a pretty smart thing to do.
very smart.
Obsidian's games typically have better writing anyway, so
Yeah.
it could actually this could become a very big game
Yeah.
for them if they do it right. This could be a big deal.
Here, though, this to my
It's
eye
just
looks like
CGI.
CGI. Like if this was real time, I would be gobsmacked. I couldn't even think. But no.
I just like the idea of a game trailer shutting down your mental faculties.
Just like fall over, dead. But there's
Yeah.
this ending bit here. When it goes to first person for a second, if this is the game's art style, dungeon crawling look here, it's excellent looking.
Yeah, exactly. Like that right there gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, right?
If that's the style they're going for, that is awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
More first person dark fantasy games. There's not enough of them.
Yeah.
But there's aliasing, interestingly, on the sword there at the end, by the way.
Yeah, you're right.
So what is that?
I wonder if that shot was like something based on engine. Like, I'm sure it's a pre-rendered shot, but maybe it's based on the actual like the work they're doing. I mean, it's Xbox Series X and Windows only.
If that last shot, I did say aliasing on the sword. That is some really great in-engine work and looks absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna throw that out there. It looks really good. But the beginning of the trailer, I don't know, that looked CG.
Oh, it's Matt. He stole Audie's code.
First-person RPG set in the fantasy world of Eora. When Obsidian Entertainment joined Xbox Game Studios, they told us that this.
So you see, I like these little interludes where we get some insight into the game.
Yeah.
But I do think it should be the developer doing it.
Yeah.
Telling us about their vision, showing us something maybe that wasn't in the trailer, something that they're really proud of, that they want to showcase and explain. As opposed to kind of more marketing beats that we're seeing here.
Yeah.
It's a step in the right direction, but I still don't feel connected to the game enough. And having the developer to step in to say, hey, check this out, it's what we need.
They do that later on, thankfully, for that Square Enix project that they showed off.
Debut their original game.
Bonjour.
I honestly don't remember this part.
Passionate about interactive storytelling because when you play a story, you step into the character's shoes. You get to experience
yeah.
fear,
I'm actually watching with the sound off here, so I can chat with you guys. So I don't even know what she's talking about right now.
The new project that they're working on. I honestly don't remember the game though, so we'll have to see in a second here. Gosh, I reviewed this content before we started.
Well, the concept of forgettability is an interesting one. How much do you actually remember from the Sony conference? Bug snacks, the first party stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Beyond that, I'm struggling.
I remember Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I remember Horizon, Ratchet, and I guess GT. That's about it.
Horizon 2, Gran Turismo. I remember Bug Snacks now because it's everywhere.
But the problem is, Bug Snacks is a positive meme. The memes that people are making out of this are not very positive.
Yeah. All right, so this is the game. I think she was X Quantic Dream.
This is right.
So I actually like the look here is kind of neat. Mm-hmm. It's like using still frames combined with 3D backgrounds like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah,
I'm fascinated to see how this works.
There's another game that they showed off at this conference that I'll show later that kind of had a mix of 2D art with 3D art that I also thought looked very interesting. I wonder how the design process is. This looks like photography, kind of that has been AI enhanced maybe, or painted over. I'm not sure which one it would be, but it's very interesting look.
I really like the camera work and like this. It's an interesting visual aesthetic that we don't see often.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you play it?
Yeah.
How do you play it?
Oh, I mean, it's clearly going to be like an interactive fiction kind of game.
Quantic Dream style. Probably, I would imagine, with less tiny things where you like interact with the little bits of the world. This looks more like based upon conversations almost.
Yeah. Cool logo, by the way. The way they brought that in, that was nice. Okay. Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is probably still the best looking thing we've seen. I mean,
yeah.
At least, I mean, they've confirmed now that they're using UE5 tech, or I mean, I guess it's still technically UE4, but they've been rolling out features to developers.
People have been wondering if I'll go back to that initial trailer and give my look back on it again to say it was real time because people want to hear that. I'm still gonna say what I said back then. So it doesn't change my opinion just because they said they're moving to UE5 or have moved to UE5.
Yeah, that's right.
There's still too many questions about that initial showing, 24 FPS being one of them.
I suspect it'll look very good, though, in the end.
It's going to be an amazing looking game.
There's no doubt. They know what they're doing.
I'm also happy that they're moving to Iceland.
If they are using the micro polygon engine, then it does make what we saw in that trailer in terms of geometric density and whatnot a lot more viable than it was when we first took a look at that trailer.
Yep.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I also noticed at the end that they don't mention Xbox One as a target.
Yes.
Good.
Which kind of makes things a lot more viable.
We don't want cross-gen. I don't, at least. I understand why they're doing it business-wise, but I don't think it's the smart move. in terms of like getting that mind share at launch, it's really important to come out with a strong foot forward. Okay, now this though, this is gonna be Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
I sat in on the presentation at E3 last year, and this was actually possibly like this is one of the most memorable games I saw last year. Like I really liked the demo they showed, and they're not actually showing anything from the demo we saw in this one. This is a new world they're showing, but man, this looks so cool, so creative, and just yeah, I'm actually super excited for this game. Those guys look like brothers, Tim Schafer and Jack Black.
Yeah, very similar in a lot of ways. I remember you talking about the gameplay that you saw back then. And
oh my gosh.
Kind of gave me like Valve experimentation vibes the way you talked about it. Like Valve always experiments with really cool project ideas, but this game seems like...
It reminded me of Portal in a good way,
Yeah,
but
good
like,
point.
you know, obviously with Psychonauts, but there was just some crazy stuff. And the technology is now capable of doing much more than Psychonauts 1 could ever do.
Yeah.
With the way the environments were changing and shifting as they played. And I actually saw a live gameplay demo where they had a controller and they just played it in front of us.
Yeah.
So it was, it was obviously running on PC at the time, but which makes sense.
Yeah. 60 FPS here too.
But I have no doubt that it'll look good on the consoles as well. I mean, this will be 60 on Series X, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so too. One thing that's interesting is a lot of these games are using UE4, and UE4 has one of the first engines to integrate ray tracing.
Yeah.
Larger scale ones. I'm curious how many developers will choose to just flip the switch on Series X, sacrifice a bit of resolution.
I wonder.
To turn on ray tracing effects, which depending on their game type, I think it could be a really big enhancement for certain visuals. A game like this, probably less so for most things.
Well, so this area has a very specific look. The area I saw in the demo had a totally different look.
Yeah, cool.
With much more realistic materials, but like kind of like it's like realism but within a cartoon, like in a way where it looks like Raz almost doesn't fit in, but in a cool way. Like, but changing the style is what Psychonauts was always about.
Yeah,
Each
right.
area had a very unique look and feel. This is obviously going for that psychedelic, lots of flat objects like stacked around, like that's the point, and it's cool.
It's cool. The music jives really well with the trailer as well. It's just really artfully done.
I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for Psychonauts 2. I love the original.
This has been in development for a while before they joined Microsoft, right? So
yeah,
I'm curious what their post Psychonauts 2 projects are going to be like, that they probably have already started on, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I wonder if, Microsoft now purchasing the studio allows, a new influx of cash, which potentially helps with development of this, allowing them to polish it further and really, do something amazing.
I think Double Fine deserves some credit over the years for staying independent for so long.
I know. I'm amazed they lasted that long.
That they were putting out games, like when did they start? Like 2008-ish? Was before? No, it was before that.
Brutal Legend
Brutal
was their
Legend,
first release. Okay, so Sarah's on here.
Is that a kind of? I don't know what the reference is on her shirt. Is that a Castle Wolfenstein?
The key? I'm not sure.
Like, is that
I thought we were over the Wolfenstein stuff.
Castle what?
Wolfenstein 3D reference. The keys look they're the gold keys there. I don't know which ones. They remind me of the silver, iron, and gold keys from Wolf 3D.
One thing I think I'd like to interject at this point is that for the PS5 thing, we did pixel counts of all the content that was available to be pixel counted, and we did the same here. And everything that we can count is 3840 by 2116 native. So thanks to Tom Morgan for that. But we just don't know whether it's actually running on Series X or not. So the extent to which that particular stat is irrelevant, no idea.
Doesn't really matter that much. Yeah. And even then, we've talked about it before. Is native 3840 by 2160 worth it? Probably not. So
no, I don't think it is.
It's not a great marketing point anymore, necessarily.
No, exactly. And we've seen, not that they have this, but we've seen what DLSS 2.0 can do.
Yeah, right.
Quite frankly, I think DLSS 2.0 at a lower, internal resolution can look better than native 4K now. We've reached that point where that's the case. You don't need native 4K anymore.
It's absurd. And there's going to be a video. I just did a DLSS 2.0 versus checkerboard video, which should be coming out in the near future. And even without the same, machine learning performance on something like Xbox Series X that you see on PC, it is still a very capable machine learning device. It can still do it.
Yeah, and I would tend to think that the performance overhead of achieving a similar thing to DLSS is still going to be lower than just rendering everything at native 4K.
100%, and especially with ray tracing, which is why you want to use this, enable those next.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, guys. I'm really excited about Destiny 2 4K 60 on Series X, assuming it is. I mean, that game just looked epic there. I really want to dig back into that and check it out.
It's still a beautiful, beautiful game. Bungie knows what's up. Like their art pipeline and just they know what they're doing on the visual side. Still.
You weren't joking there when you said it looked better in a number of ways than Halo Infinite. One thing that caught my eye was their use of volumetric lighting and its placement.
Oh, yeah.
The Halo Infinite footage does not show in any extremely direct manner any form of volumetric lighting. It shows the the screen space variety when the Master Chief looks through the sun coming through the trees, but no real volumetric.
Yep.
Which is a shame.
Everything about Halo Infinite, it's the lighting. That's the issue.
Yeah,
and you'll talk about this in detail, but
this is
okay. Now this trailer, it's just another cinematic trailer, yes, but I really like the vibe that this has. The really foreboding music and just the visuals they're showing. Like it really does set the tone in a way that's very engaging and
it's great.
I hope that at least this represents their visual objective in terms of what they want to deliver.
I'd hope so too. I don't think this is real time. I mean, we'll look at the end of the trailer. I have dim memory of there being some aliasing at one point, but maybe that is just my memory being false.
I mean, I guess at best maybe it's it could be derived from their engine work, just pre-rendered out. Because I mean, this doesn't look unrealistic.
No, it looks in a lot of ways like something you could
actually
achieve.
especially that area looks very achievable.
Great looking water there, if it is real.
Yeah, actually, you know what? This probably is. The more I see it, I think this is probably an engine demo, but like pre-recorded for the trailer.
Especially like scenes like this.
Yeah, that looks. Yeah.
We should talk about the history of this game because it is a PC, orientated game and game engine originally. The developers that made Stalker, a big portion of them after GSC kind of dissolved, went to form 4A Games, which then made the Metro series, which are excellent looking games. But it was also a game in terms of its design ethos. It was very much so, I would say, simmy. All about, interactive world. Wasn't super polished in a lot of ways.
No.
Has a lot of fan patches to make it more palatable. But it is very ambitious. And if Stalker 2 is anything like that, it's going to be an excellent game. And also the first debut on console.
I agree. Like, it has a ton of potential. And I really hope they can pull it off, but we'll see. And then this is this the Warhammer game?
Yeah, this is the Warhammer fanboy in me is screeching at the moment. I mean, this is exciting.
This to me, this is just gonna be Left 4 Dead, but Warhammer, isn't it?
Yeah, their last game, I forget the name of this team.
Was it also that?
It was they did the Vermintide and Vermintide 2, which are Warhammer Fantasy Battle first-person Left 4 Dead style games. So this takes place in the Warhammer 40k universe. Okay. Fat Shark, and they use something like I think it's the Autodesk engine or Turbo Squid.
Turbo Squid, I love that name.
Which is actually pretty great. I think it is actually. So there's aliasing on the gun there, which is interesting. But it is a really good-looking engine and supports actually all the visual features that we're seeing right here. This is just like a 30 FPS trailer. I think of just the in-game assets rendered out in engine. Just really good-looking version of them. I would imagine it would target 60 FPS if it was coming out, though. Like their last games kind of always target really high frame rates. Good-looking games though on PC.
I'm still just really distressed that we're having discussions like, hey, maybe the game will look like this. Can you imagine that? It's, okay, let's go back to my Spider-Man trailer analogy. Spider-Man trailer comes in. Yeah, let's hope the movie looks like this. Ugh, stop it. Make it stop.
What is this? I actually don't remember this as well.
Oh, this is Tetris.
What is this about?
This is Tetris Effect with the multiplayer stuff. They're showing all the friends, family, developers. I actually really like this trailer. This is super cool.
Oh, I completely blanked out.
Like I like the concept of this. It's like, okay, it's Tetris Effect. They're using these squares of people to both show that one, it's multiplayer, but then also these can form Tetris shapes. You see, so it represents the play field, right? Look at that. That's so freaking cool. Like, this is a very, very well crafted trailer.
Eurogamer's Game of the Year 2019, right?
Yeah, understandably so. It was not mine, but it's up there. I really like Tetris Effect.
Yeah, yours was Monster Boy, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that was the same year, but yeah, that was phenomenal.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
Tetris Effect though. Oof. It's a really have you actually played through it, Alex? Because it's such a journey. You really need to play it. It's incredible. Like I'm not lying when I say the first time I was playing through it, like it actually like moved me to tears ever so slightly. Which is a weird thing to say, but I'm not kidding. Like the fusion of the gameplay, the pace, the music, it's powerful. It's so good.
Really well done.
Brilliantly made game.
I only played it last month, and I played it on Oculus Quest, and it's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely awesome.
It is. Also, this right here from the SteamWorld Dig games are amazing, by the way. Great team. This is hugely ambitious for them, though, moving to full 3D like this. But I actually think this is one of the most interesting looking games that's shown at this entire thing.
Yeah.
Because one, their games are often Metroidvania-ish, but with their own twist. So this looks like a big 3D adventure kind of experience with some really cool physics and effects shown here.
This kind of voluminous, I don't know how you'd say it, liquid stuff is really cool looking.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I'm guessing it's like is this like a Grey Goose scenario, or is this a kind of I don't know, like this stuff's bad and you're sucking it up. I have no idea what the gameplay is.
I wonder. I don't know. And there's cool particles there. This is their first like real 3D game too, which is quite a shift for them.
Unreal Engine 4?
Probably.
Kind of gives me those vibes. Mostly everything is Unreal Engine 4 these days, almost.
They're a small studio. There's no way they would have crafted their own. I don't want to say that without being for sure.
Yeah,
maybe they did.
Because it can be surprising.
But it seems like it makes more sense to do Unreal Engine 4. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm really. The name is hilarious, but I'm actually really excited about that. This could be good. And they have quite the pedigree.
Mm-hmm. That was also coming to last gen, though, I noticed.
Yeah, that's concerning again. Okay, and that name Bluebird, like we have the Gunk, then Bluebird team. Like we need more names like this.
Yeah, but
now this was said to be like in-engine footage somewhat in the past. So, and this has Akira Yamaoka of Silent Hill fame, I think, doing the music or the sound, which is really cool. But I actually really like what they're showing here of this game.
So one thing that they showed off is they didn't really show off in the first trailer was the fact that the game is rendering two worlds at the same time, and it's not doing it in a way where you like switch between them, I think, always, but it actually looks like it has two viewports of you seeing the same thing at the same time. Is that what I'm supposed to be understanding with this trailer?
I don't know yet. Like, you're right. That's kind of what was suggested, but I don't know for sure.
There are some interesting tech implications for that, because rasterization is actually really bad at multiple viewports. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
Ray tracing is much, much better at it, actually. It can become cheaper to ray trace things with multiple viewports than it is to rasterize them. So they did mention that this game will be using ray tracing in some form. I think it's going to be targeting 30 FPS on Xbox Series X. And if it is, I'd be curious what they're using ray tracing for exactly, because it is, if they are doing multiple viewports, it would be, a great way to use ray tracing to get great quality and also run faster probably than rasterization in some ways. Like this right here.
Yeah, see, they're mentioning that. That's fascinating. I don't know what to make of this yet, but this could be really interesting. But it looks beautiful.
So there was just a caption that came up that said that it's two realities simultaneously.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Exactly.
No games do that. So, like, no games do that. The closest thing you get is when a game has a scope, and the scope is actually done with, like, rendered to texture.
Hey, what about The Adventures of Cookie and Cream on PS2?
John, you can't just pull these obscure games I don't know anything about. Yes, probably you're right.
Looking at this split screen stuff, it reminds me of when we used to do comparisons with both versions of the game running simultaneously with one controller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember how difficult it was to actually control two games? At least there wouldn't be any synchronization issues with this
They
one.
always go out of sync constantly.
I wanted to have that ability when I was working on the DLSS versus checkerboard video so badly, but I don't have the technical capability here.
So this is cool. I'm really glad that they're bringing PSO2 to the West. But I'm curious if this is like, is this an add-on or, you know, like an expansion pack as well? Because some of these areas look... something. It seems, I don't know.
Some stuff here is interestingly lower res than the other content, almost looking.
Oh yeah, I noticed that as well.
Some of this trailer.
I mean, this game's been around for a while. PSO2 itself in Japan, but this looks like this could be new content, maybe some other visual changes.
60 foops,
and it's finally coming to the West.
Areas. Yeah, like this is high res, and then the other part of the trailers, lower res looking and 60, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Or well, this isn't right
that's
here.
Not 60.
But earlier it was. That is. Unknown threats. I guess the one really cool thing here, this is obviously an older engine at this point. They've been updating it over time. I've read about that occasionally. Really cool draw distance. Really big areas. I guess that's stuff that next gen could pull off much better than it does currently.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was just great to see the Sega logo pop up and to see the console launch exclusive. You know, that's interesting to me.
The thing is, though, is PSO2 exists on the Vita.
Well, that's it. Series X could go home.
Obviously, the Vita version looks nowhere near this good, but...
No. I mean, there's like stuff like semi-volumetric clouds there. One thing about the Halo Infinite trailer, I'm thinking back on it, there is evidence of those clouds in the background actually being semi-volumetric, based upon the way they look. So this, though, is interesting. Parts of this trailer are CGI according to their...
I think the 30 FPS stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of this that is 60, and based upon their engine, like this right here, I think that's in engine, not pre-rendered. This is going to be a really good looking game, targeting 60, if I recall, on Xbox Series X.
Yeah. On Xbox One X, right?
It's 60 on Xbox One X. I spoke to Remedy about this last night. This is rendering on PC, so it's not Series X, but you know, if they're doing 60 on Xbox One X, I kind of can't wait to see what this is going to be like on Series X.
I'm curious. I kind of wonder if this is going to have a bit of a fear vibe to it. It's like it's military, but there's going to be weird stuff because it's Remedy. So
the only thing is, I would love it to be the case, but it's also Crossfire, right? So it's based upon, I don't know, it's like global terrorism. I have no idea what the storyline is in the Crossfire games. It's basically Counter-Strike. So I have no idea what the story is.
We'll see about that. I don't know.
We'll see about that.
I can't imagine Remedy just playing it straight.
But Northlight, we're talking about games, engines that are ready for next gen. Northlight is beyond next gen, you know?
This looks insane, man. Yeah, like this is probably one of the best. This might be the best looking thing, or just about that at this entire show, just in terms of what they're showing here.
Yeah, it's really so much stuff going on here. It's really good.
Yeah, their engine is amazing, and yeah, you're right. It's completely ready for next gen, isn't it?
And we, you know, like when I'm curious how they're getting 60 on the Xbox One X though, because looking at Control, that is definitely a game which uses a lot of the effects we just saw in that trailer, which is not 60 FPS on Xbox One X. So I'm curious what their optimization strategy is.
All of our partners in the subscription or free to play.
Oh, Gears Tactics.
At some of the new titles coming to Xbox Series X.
It's good to know that Audi's jacket is next gen ready.
It is. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
4, Gears 5, and Sea of Thieves. You'll get the next-gen upgrades at no additional cost when they...
That's nice.
I really want to see more of these Series X enhancements. I want to see Forza Horizon 4K 60.
Yeah, right.
It's, you know, why aren't we seeing it? It's really frustrating. I want to see, you know, I want to know how fast a game boots on a next-gen console. This is really basic stuff. And, you know, I still want to know, you know, the experience when my console is plugged into my TV, I boot it up. What am I going to see? That, you know, this is something that could be easily shown. How long does a game take to load? You know, what is the SSD difference? There's zero of that kind of content here.
Yeah. They need to step back from the Hollywood-style cinematic presentations and just really understand what people that are going to buy a console at launch want to see.
And speaking of which, another Hollywood-style presentation. Now, admittedly, this is a key title.
Yeah.
So there is some aliasing there on the sword, but you know you can still get that in offline renderers too.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell what this trailer is about. What we're looking at exactly. I don't doubt that they can make a really good looking game.
I was gonna say that's the thing, right? Like, regardless of this, Playground Games has shown themselves to be extremely capable. I have no doubt that it's going to be a very good looking game and probably better than any Fable game that's existed, quite frankly.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, this trailer, I don't even know what to make of it in terms of rendering stuff. There's nothing really to say or see there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that was it. They ended with Fable, and then sizzle here of the entire conference.
So final thoughts then, guys. Let's start with you then, John.
There's some cool stuff shown here, but obviously I think it's fair to say that there's, you know, they're not showing enough from actual Series X. People want to see the console. Halo should be a good game, but was kind of a letdown visually. But, you know, it's still at the point where things can turn around, I'd say. It's a weird situation, I'd say, overall.
John, you compared it earlier to a bit of the wall guy effect.
Yeah.
Where they showed off something that they thought was maybe impressive, but wasn't for some certain reason. But at the end of the day, it did not actually affect the quality of Perfect Dark Zero on the Xbox 360 necessarily, or also the launch of the Xbox 360, which was pretty great.
Yeah, that's the key. Is, you know, if Wall Guy was a harbinger of something, maybe that's not such a bad thing because the 360 did well. So,
what about your final thoughts then, Alex?
I would say I'm also kind of disappointed in the visual look of a lot of ways for Halo Infinite. That I'll get into a video about that, and also very disappointed in any use of CGI assets or the ambiguity of the fact that we have to question them. It should say underneath each trailer, this is running on an Xbox Series X. That's the way I feel about it. And I think there's some good looking games, but I just gotta wait once again, even though the console's coming out this year.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are pretty straightforward. I still know very little about Xbox Series X as a machine that I'm expected to invest X $100 into. I really want to know more about the hardware and the machine and what it's going to do for me. And I just didn't see anything here about that at all. What I have got as the primary message is that all of this stuff is going to be available to me on Game Pass. I also think, God, we've got to do something about the state of live streams because they're fundamentally misrepresenting stuff that's looking really, really good. But, you know, what is next gen? Next gen is the next generation. You want to see stuff you've never seen before, and you want to see the new console as a gateway to delivering that. And I don't know, they seemed almost, I'm not going to say embarrassed, but they didn't want to highlight the strengths of Series X as the delivery mechanism for these games for some reason. And I really hope to see more from Microsoft here, but you know, that's just my thoughts. Anyway, I guess we'll just round up everything. Please do like, subscribe, share if you enjoyed the content. Hopefully we'll have some more Xbox stuff to reveal soon. This can't be the end of the messaging. So yeah, we'll be on top of all of that stuff as it happens. But that's all from us for now. Thanks for joining me on this one, guys.
Of course.
Of course, there, Rich.
Okay, and we'll see you soon.